Welcome back. Now, a look ahead to tonight's Apprentice there. The candidates getting competitive under the watchful eye of Tim Campbell, who's here now. Now, look, I was up all night making these. What do you think?
They're amazing. I wish some of the candidates had followed your guys.
I may or may not have been telling you a wee fib there. I may have just bought them, but never mind. But I love those anyway. Oh, gosh, isn't it good fun? I'm so glad it's back.
It's amazing. It's
so glad.
It's such a good opportunity in the midst of lots of negativity in the world, lots of disruption all over the place, to have just a bit of fun, but actually underpinned by a life-changing event for somebody to get £250,000 from one of the UK's best entrepreneurs.
Well, that's very true. And the thing about you is you won it. You won the first one.
I did.
How long ago was that then?
About 2005.
Was it 2005, Tim?
A long time
You've not
ago.
changed a bit. You're very annoying.
You're very kind. You're very kind.
But then you guys didn't have any idea of how big this was going to be. You didn't have any really a clue about what the show was about. You were just learning as you went along.
Correct.
You were the pioneers, weren't you?
Well, that's really kind to say, but I think the consistency over the years has been that same life-changing opportunity where you've got a bunch of young people who want to get involved in business and want to change the trajectory of their life. And the robustness of the process has found and identified great businesses over many, many years.
It has, and the show-offs and the sort of, you know, the ones that are in it for the wrong reason get weeded out fairly quickly,
really
don't
quickly.
they?
And
they do.
in the world, we find those people anyway. That's part of business. There's some people you really like working with, and there's some people like you tolerate.
Yes.
And the process is about reflecting as much as real about business as you can and how people interact with each other. That's the bit that's most compelling.
No, very much so. And the ones that don't have much to them.
Yes.
You know, that maybe they just want to be on the telly, or maybe they've got an idea. It's, you know, when they go in for the interviews. And, I mean, that is my favourite. And they go, seriously? This is your idea? And that's when you really get to the absolute core of it, don't you?
You really do.
They've got that business idea.
Well, I think what you see on the show is people who are trying to change their life. And what Lord Sugar's facilitated by creating millionaires, investing in loads of business over time, is that he's now going full circle, as I have gone, on the other side of the table, by giving people the opportunity to get into a position like him. He's created millionaires off the show.
No, absolutely. And the thing was, you worked for Lord Sugar for a couple of years, didn't you? Then set up on your own.
Correct.
And I guess for you doing this, it's kind of like when a judge comes into a show, like Anton Dubek coming on to Strictly Come Dancing. He's been there, he knows what it's like. So you've been there, you know. I guess there must sometimes be a temptation to help them, but you can't. You're not allowed.
It's so difficult.
Oh,
because
you just want to say, oh, don't do that.
I'm very much like you. If I see something going wrong, I want to get involved and help them.
You want to be a fixer,
But as an aide, you have to stand back and let them perform in the real world, because our job, myself and Baroness Brady, is to feed back to Lord Sugar about what's happened on the task.
Yes.
Because at the end, decision's his. He's the guy who's making the investment and putting the money in. We're there just to make sure, one, we keep the contestants honest, because they want to put the best story forward sometimes.
Of course.
But also give him the insight to see what's happened actually on those tasks when he hasn't been there.
What's the best advice that he gave you all those years ago, would you say?
The best advice he gave me, two things. He said, get a good lawyer and accountant. Makes sense. But he said, don't get dazzled by the camera bulbs. He said, focus on doing a good job, and you'll always have longevity in this process. And unfortunately, many of the most recent candidates, sometimes they get a bit caught up in the flashing lights and forget this is a business show. Yes, it has entertainment to it, but it is a business show.
And don't you think that people... We've always said this as well. You know, we're talking about the buns, the buy buns. But at school, kids should know, obviously about sex education, of course, that goes without saying. They should know how to cook, but they should also know about money and about business as well, you know.
It's so important.
And I don't think they're ever too young to be taught about these things.
And do you know what? Financial literacy in school is so important. Knowing how to manage a budget, or as my mum talked about, making ends meet. Those things should be taught in school. But I don't want to put undue pressure on teachers, because I love teachers. I'm now a governor of my old school, the one they kicked me out of, right? That's a long story, but we won't get into that one.
We need to hear that.
We won't get into that one.
You need to come back for that
But
one.
essentially, teachers need support from businesses. Business should go in and teach the understanding of how to manage money. And we've got a big campaign. We want to go out and help as many young people understand what money and how it works.
Tim, that's a brilliant idea. We need to follow you doing that.
We should definitely keep up.
Absolutely vital, especially now, because so many kids are so naive about it because they've never had to go through that process.
And look at with the cost of living crisis at the moment, it's even more important that we watch those pennies because we have to make them stretch. It's going to be difficult over a period of time.
But when you're not doing Apprentice and you know, doing all of that, being a mentor, you are a mentor, I was going to say. You help with businesses.
Correct.
You help young people.
Yeah, I spent a huge amount of time spending with young people particularly and educating them how they can take an idea or a talent they have and convert that into a business idea.
See, that's brilliant.
It's so important because the thing people should think about, what do you spend most time doing? What gives you most enjoyment? And what problem are you solving? If you can think about those three things, you have the potential to start a business. And with the technology now, remember, I didn't have the internet like many of these kids have now. You can create a business overnight that can potentially speak to billions of people. That's a huge opportunity.
It really is, and it's actually really exciting.
Very much
when you look at it like that.
Well, you're going to start a bail bond business, aren't you?
Absolutely,
of course.
Definitely. Tim, thank you so much. But you need to come back and talk about all of this because I think it's so important for young people, and what you're doing is absolutely vital. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
So much. And The Apprentice continues tonight, 9 o'clock on BBC One, and of course you can catch up on BBC iPlayer.